Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the studio. Today, Wyatt and I are going to be reacting to kind of a behind the scenes, kind of a featurette for Oppenheimer. This is called Oppenheimer Shooting for IMAX. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
It's gonna be really cool. So it's about it's about 3 minutes long. So we'll watch it, we'll react to it, and then we'll give our thoughts at the end. So stick around for that. Let's enjoy this together.
They won't fear it
Nice.
until they understand it. And they won't understand it until they've used it.
Oppenheimer's story is one of the biggest stories imaginable. Our film tries to take you into his experience, and IMAX for me is a portal into a level of immersion that you can't get from other formats.
IMAX is a format of spectacle and it's made for vistas and for the grandeur of it. But I got very curious to discover this as an intimate format. The face is like a landscape. There's a huge complexity and a huge depth to it. How can we get this camera closer to people? How can we get this medium to work also as a very intimate medium?
It's huge.
Chris is always pushing the boundaries and innovating with each film he does. On this one of the things that was really important in the script was the juxtaposition of color and black and white.
I don't think Chris would be capable of doing something kind of the way everyone else does it.
He kind of invented this idea of shooting in IMAX for feature film. And so you're kind of on the cutting edge of this stuff every time you work with him.
How are we going to do it? Because 65mm black and white was a format that didn't exist. So there was a lot of engineering that went into that.
We actually had to create the black and white film that we were using to shoot.
We were able to test large format black and white, put it up on a giant IMAX screen and have a look at it, and the results were just magical and inspiring.
I was sitting in the back of a 47 Packard with an IMAX mag on my lap trying to get this driving shot, and I just felt like I went back to some origins of great cinema school. Because, you know, these lenses are coming at you and they're this close and it wakes you up.
We've shot with IMAX many times on other movies, but watching the very different sort of film on that big screen, it sort of makes you gasp. You're right in their experience.
I think it feels quite human. It feels like you are in that moment with them.
You know, it's a mythic, massive story. This is an unforgettable, unmissable experience in a theater.
Chris makes films for theaters, for movie-going audiences. And the best, the most immersive version of that is IMAX.
It gets thrown up on a gigantic screen, and the moment you watch it, it's very evident. The quality is unprecedented.
15 perf IMAX 70mm is the highest quality imaging format that's ever been devised. It allows you to fully immerse yourself in the story. Where the audience is able to see this on IMAX on the big screen, they'll be able to experience an extraordinary moment in human history.
Dang it. That kind of makes me a little emotional.
There's a lot of effort being put into this.
Yeah.
Is there almost... I hesitate to say too much effort.
No, not with Chris Nolan, because no one else will do it.
All right,
no one else will do it. Chris Nolan will do it.
But we understand that, you know, sometimes his movies aren't received as well. Tenet, for example.
Dude, Tenet is what it is.
Okay,
this is a biopic, so he is following actual accounts. What he's also exploring is the emotional side of this, and he's also capturing the spectacle of, you know, the atomic bomb and using it through film. Chris Nolan uses very little CG. I'm sure he did a lot more CG stuff with films like Interstellar.
Oh yeah.
However, he tends to not use a lot of it, and with this film in particular, he's not using a lot of CG at all. I mean, it is all there, and the fact that they're capturing an explosion, you know, a nuclear explosion on film. There's something so tangible and analog about this because film, I mean, it's like this with digital sensors as well, but film, it burns. Light burns into the film. And so there's something magical about this idea of filming an explosion and allowing the lights from that explosion to burn onto this film. It's exciting when you really think about it. And he mentioned it, but he was talking about 70 millimeter IMAX film. And we've talked about it. It's different than 70 millimeter film. 70 millimeter film's pretty big, but 70 millimeter IMAX is that turned sideways and expanded 3 times, right? So it's humongous.
I got excited when RDJ was talking about that close-up in the car. Right? And you think about it, he's right. There's somebody with that massive IMAX camera. Just like...
Yeah, when you have when one frame is about that big, a film, that takes a big box to roll out. I mean, just like a couple minutes, it takes a big box.
And
a lot
I think
of information.
I think based on what we've seen here and what we've seen in the trailers, a lot of the interactions and emotional scenes are going to get really close to people. And so, when we go see this in IMAX, it's going to be massive.
Yeah.
And you're really going to feel, people's expressions. Because that's super important for a movie where your reaction to something is the most important thing.
Yeah.
When somebody says they, this blew up.
Right.
People died.
Right.
We dropped a nuclear bomb on a country. What does somebody's face say about what they worked on? What part they played, or what situation that they're in, and the danger that they're in.
Yeah, and there's multiple fronts, and this is what Oppenheimer, the man, actually dealt with, but also what Cillian Murphy's going to be communicating is it's Oppenheimer, it's Einstein, it's everyone that was involved with this project. We did it to save lives, to stop the war. In the process, we ended tens of thousands of lives, and it's in an instant. And so it's a heavy topic.
And he says it in the beginning. What is, how are people going to know not to use this kind of power?
Right.
If they see its potential, and they're, are kind of afraid of it. I mean, how many nuclear warheads have we set off since?
I think the quote was, they won't understand it until they've seen it, and they won't fear it until they've seen it, and they won't understand it till they've seen it. Something like that. Yeah, I got you.
But yeah, this is, I think, going to be a really interesting movie. I don't know. I've actually heard some people saying that there's potential for it to come out as far as the person of Oppenheimer. That we want to avoid this of the P.T. Barnum thing, where it's like, oh, we idolize or fictionalize this character who was maybe not so great, and maybe kind of not only a jerk, but also maybe like a had more of a big head of himself than maybe he was. But I think there's potential for them to include all of that and still tell an interesting story about the type of person, the type of people who made this happen.
And say what you will about how terrible it was with the nuclear explosion. Oppenheimer, the man, is one of the people solely responsible for ending World War II. So.
Yeah, very true.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this reaction, what you think of this video, what stood out to you, what was fascinating, what you're looking forward to in the IMAX experience. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the very next video.